Hi, my name is Caroline Martin, and it is my honor and pleasure to be the program coordinator of our multilingual program here at Toby Johnson Middle School. I wanted to take some time to explain to incoming families what our program looks like for your student and some important things that are happening for your student in these coming months so that you understand the implications of them. So, I want to first start off with talking about a little bit about how students are identified as English learners. There are various types of English learners in the state of California, in the country, that range from students who are new to the country and have very little, if any, English, to those who were born in the United States. And so we have a lot of students who don't speak a language other than English, and yet they're classified as English learners. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that process. When a child first is enrolled in school, they're given an enrollment form, and on the enrollment form is a home language survey. By federal law, we are required to flag any student who has a language other than English listed. And it's flagged only in that it brings to our attention that this student might need some English language support. So we are required then to give the initial LPAC test, the English Language Proficiency Assessment of California. The initial one is given to students who are new to California or new to our country. And it determines whether or not a student is needing English language support. Some students demonstrate proficiency at that point in time, and so they are not classified as English learners. But if a student does not show that they're proficient at that time, then they are categorized according to the federal requirements as English learners. And they are placed into an English learner program. So really the purpose of an English learner program is to give students the tools to become proficient in English. This doesn't mean conversationally, but academic English. So that really is our focus in our program. Our program looks a little bit different than it does in elementary school, which I'll talk about in a moment. So many of you might be saying, well, my student doesn't speak Mandarin or my student doesn't speak Tagalog. So why are they considered an English learner? It's that home language survey on the enrollment form that is the gateway for whether a student is tested to see if they're English proficient. And so if a language other than English is listed in the home language survey, then they are moved forward to test on the initial LPAC. Now, many of you filled out an enrollment form. If your student has been in our district for more than a few years, you filled out an enrollment form that looked like this, and you had no idea that listing a language other than English would mean that they would have to go down the route of testing English proficiency. So that has since changed, and I think it's a good thing, but I also know that, may not, it's too late for many of us who enrolled our kids 6-7 years ago. But this language form is no longer being used, and now we have our it's revised to actually show that by California law, we determine if a student needs to be tested for English proficiency if another language than English is listed here. So now at least families are more informed about that. And in the past, unfortunately, it did seem not as explicit for families. So by federal law, all schools are required to provide any English learner, we call them multilingual learners now because they're probably learning more than one language at a time. But all English learners are required to have a protected time for designated ELD. This is explicit language development support, where it's time that is protected and focused on developing English proficiency. And so in elementary school, this looks really different from what it looks like in secondary school. In elementary school, most typically what you'll see is there will be win time or what I need time, where either students are pulled into a small group by that teacher or by another teacher, and they work on English together. Or it can look at, like, stations where there's one station where the teacher works with the multilingual learners. But it does not, it's, as a parent, I don't think it's really that clear when and how ELD is being delivered in the school day, since they're in the same classroom all day with the same teacher, most likely. Um, so at secondary, however, our protected time, because our school day is divided into periods, our protected time takes place most often in the form of an actual class. So what does it look like in middle and high school? And I'll speak specifically to Toby right now. Is we have 2 EL intensive courses. We have a level 1, and that is the course that has the most support. So those are the students who need the most support in language development. It's a year-long class. It's typically pretty small. They get a lot of support from the teacher. They get a lot of attention. They have specific curriculum that is intended to develop their English proficiency from that basic level. Our second EL intensive class is levels 2 and 3, and this is a mixture of students who have developed pretty conversational English, but still need that support to develop their conversational English, and then also their academic English. This as well is a year-long course. They have a strong need for language support still at this time, but they don't have the highest need. So this is a more advanced course. For students who don't need the support in our EL intensive courses, we have 2 grade level courses that we offer. A 7th grade course called Academic Writing for Success, and an 8th grade course called Advanced Academic Writing for Success. These are 2-quarter elective courses. These students typically have a really strong command of English. They just need to work on refining and improving their academic language so that they get to the point where they can reclassify and navigate academic texts and content. So those are the 2 courses. If they're not needing the high support, then they are in these academic writing for success. So students are required to take the English language I'm drawing a blank. English Language Proficiency Assessment of California, the LPAC test, every year until they reclassify. And they also they have a right to that protected ELD time. They will take the LPAC and have access to that protected time until they reclassify, which means they are no longer categorized as an English learner, but as a redesignated English Fluent Proficient student, a redesignated or reclassified student. So how does reclassification work? So the first gateway is that LPAC test. And the testing window for the LPAC for all grade levels opens up on February 1st, and it goes until, I believe, the end of May. So your student, if your student is an English learner, will take the LPAC soon. And it is very important that they take that test as seriously as they can. In the reading portion, they read the questions before they read the text so they know what to look for. They take it slow. This test matters because a student cannot reclassify unless they score a 4 on it. 4 out of, they don't have to get 100%, but 4 is the highest grade. So it's like they need to get in the A range. They can still get things wrong and things like that, but they need to get that highest score. If they don't get that 4, then they are not on track for reclassification for another year until they take the LPAC again. So the LPAC is really a gatekeeper there. But if they do, so in order to reclass the CASP test, and they also take our EGUSD standardized test. Both of these tests will help is a data point that's required, one or the other, where they need to do standard nearly met. So it's pretty much, I mean, loosely stated, they would need about like a C minus on that test. Loosely, I'm guessing it always moves, so I can't really give you an accurate picture, but they don't need to get that highest score range. They do need to do well on it though. So they should take those tests seriously. And then they need a C minus or higher in their language arts grade. So these three criteria need to be met in order to reclassify. And once a student is reclassified, they no longer have to take the LPAC test, and they no longer need to do that protected time, or in this case, take the EL elective or the year-long English class. So why do students take the LPAC? The LPAC is a way by which the state measures academic language. And so there's a reading, listening, writing, and speaking section. That's the whole test. And so the speaking test is done one-on-one with a staff member. And it usually takes 15 to 20 minutes. And then the other portions, the listening, reading, and writing, all are usually done in like a group format or a classroom format. But it is a test that gives us an idea of growth, like how much growth is a student making, and can they reclassify? So like I mentioned, they'll be taking it in February through May, anytime in there. You can reach out to your school or your EL coordinator, who is usually your vice principal, or your student's teacher, to see when it will be taken. So, and then what resources they might be able to provide for you to prepare. It is a computer-based test, because almost all of them are now these days. So that just gives you an idea what to expect. Like I mentioned, talk to your teachers, ask how you can support, ask what areas, they really need to work on. Students can advocate for themselves as well. Reading across the board, if we're looking at data statewide, reading is the area that students require the most support in. It's almost always, the lowest score across the state. So being able to identify main idea, supporting details, and things like that is something that should be practiced. Here are some QR codes as well. You can write down these web addresses for some ways that you can become more aware of these two exams. It's the LPAC. This is the one where they need the 4. And this is the annual math and language arts test that they take starting in 3rd grade. That is also used to contribute to the package for reclassification. And that being said, I just wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to explain how things work here at Toby, how they will look a little bit different than what you're used to at elementary. We have amazing teachers here, phenomenal teachers. We really try and work closely with families. We hope that when you come to Toby, you will ask questions, you will work together with your teachers, you'll work with me. You'll be a part of the school to the extent that you're able and comfortable, because we really do feel like a partnership with families is the best way that we can meet the needs of our students. So if you have any questions, you feel free to email me at that email address. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you and meeting your student this coming fall, if not sooner. Thank you.